Welcome back to our channel. We want to thank you for joining. The country of France is facing an incredible decline in the continent of Africa, especially in the Sahel region. France, that has ruled this particular area. Some will say it's the France's backyard. However, we've seen the flagship carrier of France, Air France, that has lost over 65 million euros after being chased out from the Sahel region. It's important to note that this region, considering that France has subjugated them for quite some time and extract resources, lack of investment and growth in this particular region, that's the reason why Air France has indeed experienced a significant loss of market share in the Sahel region due to a combination of factors, including political issues and military activities that had happened, talking about coups, and more importantly, subsequent closure of airspace by some Sahelian countries from France when the event happened within that particular region of the continent of Africa. This has led to financial loss and also a shift in operations for the airline, talking about Air France here. So France's particular activities in the continent of Africa is paying them from the negative perspective looking at the Sahel. You can't ignore the Sahel region because it's a vital region in the continent of Africa if you consider this particular region. If you look at the GDP of these countries in the Sahel region, talking about Burkina Faso with over 20 billion in terms of its GDP, and that is massive, huge. And if you consider the country of Mali, that has also about the same GDP of 20 billion US dollars, and looking at Niger, that's massive in terms of their particular contribution, and Niger has just over 16 billion US dollars based on recent figures. And for the country of France to use its hegemonic approach to basically sideline this region, consider them not to be relevant, not to be very important in terms of geostrategic engagement, and not working with them on an equal footing, on a partnership based on strategic relationship, then these are the consequences. So Air France has faced these particular setbacks in terms of its revenue as a result of a number of issues. It's not just political instability in the region, it's a lot of other issues. The Sahel region has experienced a series of military coups which countries like Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger, leading the anti-French sentiment and expulsion of French troops and companies, and also France's ambassador at the time, has caused this particular trend that we've seen France losing its focus in the continent of Africa. There was also the closure of airspace in that part of the continent of Africa, the Sahel region I'm talking about. Following that particular event that happened in Niger, the airspace of Niger, Mali, and Burkina Faso were closed, forcing Air France to reroute flights and increase travel time and fuel cost. These particular head costs increased France's expenditure, talking about Air France in the region, and more importantly, talking about financial losses. Air France has reportedly, in the past couple of months, lose around 65 million based on information due to the disruptions of businesses and in the Sahel region as well. And more importantly, if you look at that particular area and the shift in operations, the airline has been forced to redirect the routes to Central Africa, establishing a partnership with AfriJet to create a new hub in Libreville, Gabon. So this is eating into France's, talking about Air France's profits, and it's affecting the way the company functions. And you cannot ignore a region that has tremendous amount of potential if you consider the diplomatic standoff at the time. More importantly, Air France has postponed its return to the region for a number of reasons. Air France has recently repeatedly, so the point out, postponed its planned return to the Sahel states, with the current scheduled resumptions and also dates delayed to the mid-September 2025 this year. But it was earlier thought of that Air France will continue its operations as of the 1st of July. But that's never going to happen. And more importantly, diplomatic standoff. We saw how France president, Mr. Emmanuel Macron, disrespected the country of Niger and refused the ambassador to leave the country. This particular behavior demonstrates the lack of geostrategic relationship and condescending approach which we all have seen coming up from some of Africa's geopolitical partners. So the diplomatic standoff, the situation that created the diplomatic situation in that region between France and the military government at the time, looking at how things have unfolded. Air France suspension seen as a pressure tactics by France in the region, but it backfired. So these countries have looked for other options and alternatives to continue to move forward. The changing dynamics in the region, so to point out, the situation reflects a broader shift in the region with growing anti-French sentiment and also push for greater independence from former colonial powers. We've seen other airlines like the Turkish airlines and a whole lot of regional partners and other airlines that are moving to this particular region. They are providing the alternative as to what Air France was providing to them. So Mali and Niger, despite having formed a confederation called the Alliance of Sahel states and expressing intention to strengthen economic ties, have separate economies. So to point out, this region, which France ignored, has a combined population, looking at the Alliance of the Sahelian states, Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger, over 70 million people. They have also recently withdrawn from the Economic Community of West African States known as ECOWAS, which France also has, at the time, struggled to engage the country of Nigeria that was leading that particular move to attempted engagement with the country or intervention to the country of Niger, which Niger at the time would not have allowed France to basically make any particular move. And I think that was a fundamental blunder in the part of the country of Nigeria. If you look at, despite the economic challenges and other things, France has come to realize that the region of the Sahel is not just vital or important, but it has natural resources, it had the significant population, and this is eating into Air France's profit. And the country of France has come to realize that its hegemonic approach in that particular part of the continent of Africa is not going to lead them anywhere. So this is important to know that the Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger do have some leverage at regards to how they will operate, and they can bring a lot of cards on the table. We've seen how these countries are going closer to the country of Russia, China, and Middle Eastern partners, including Turkey, and a whole lot of other nations across the region. And it's important to know that Air France will continue to struggle, and I think at this time, it will be in the terms of Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger before the airline is allowed to operate from the strategic point of view, because by withdrawing Air France from the region, France thought that it was making a strategic move, but it was a total blunder that France did at the time, and it found itself today. So these nations never knew that they had some leverage until they came to the point where they've realized that France cannot deliver the strategic relationship, and France has been exploiting them for many years, taking natural resources and ensuring that these countries' development and growth is not a representation. It comes at a time where the continent of Africa and nations of the French-speaking region have most of the time questioned the relationship going to the France-Afrique, and more importantly, we've seen how France's troops have been kicked out and the United States of America kicked out from the country of Niger as well, closing the drone base. These are interesting times. The case of Air France losing over 65 million is an example of the reason why the Sahelian countries do have incredible leverage that they can also bring on the table. I want to thank you for watching. Let me know what you think in regards to the reason why Sahelian countries should hold and stand their grounds with regards to the country of France, and if any negotiation regards to Air France's return should be from the win-win aspect, not from the condescending approach that France has been leveraging for the past centuries. I will be looking forward to meeting you soon in our next episode. Have a good day. Bye-bye.
We've discussed the issue of AES and ECOWAS, and I've got new perspectives about the concerns that the three countries have in respect of their relations with ECOWAS. And so I assured Mr. President that at the next ECOWAS meeting, I would pass on what they have explained to me to the other leaders. I think there's a breakdown of trust amongst the leadership. It will take time to rebuild it, but we have to work on it so that we restore trust and confidence with each other so that we can work together, you know, even if we are not part of the same regional body.